Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's May 12th. This will be our chart lesson for today. Just a range day today. It's two tiers. It's a perfect two-tiered. This is what I had earlier in the day, and if you measure that, you can see we got basically went a couple of ticks further. It basically stayed within the high and low of the overnight, and that's relatively typical of how um, trading ranges do. So lots of trades today where we only had a few yesterday, quite a few today, and there's some others in here that are real close borderline. I just didn't mark them because they weren't clear, obvious trades. So, um, but there's some other possibilities in here. There was plenty. I mean, you could by 9 o'clock you had an option of all kind of trades here. And so pretty good trading day. The shorter term stuff was right on. We had a couple of little trading ranges. Within the trading range, we had a couple of little small trends, up, down, up, trading range, up, trading range, up. And that was pretty much it for today. This is still part of the uptrend. And then just kind of not much happened the rest of the day. So, um, but let's back out a little bit, talk about the trades here, and wrap it up for today. But when we came in, we had this big downtrend, and these kind of moves generally will either end up, generally you're going to get another leg down, but we couldn't do that today. Notice when we started making these higher lows right here, that's when it got suspect that this might end up being a range day, and we could have stayed in this lower range tier all day. But generally what will happen is you'll test the overnight highs and lows, and that's exactly what happened, and we couldn't break either one. So you can kind of see that. So, but we trended down. Um, we were actually trending up when I came in, and the first opportunity I saw to enter was here, but this was really suspect because this is basically a double top. So this is like a breakout pullback long. It's the first break of the trend line, so you figure we're probably going to make a retest at the high, but by the time you can enter, you're back at the high, and everything is above the EMA here. So once we started going higher, I can show you your target. You'd probably want to measure that. And then there's your target, and you can see we basically had a perfect measured move. Um, but at this point, you don't know that we're going to keep going higher. You may just make a slightly new high by a tick or two and then head down again. So you got to be real careful. So that one's a little bit aggressive. But then you got a failed second entry short here and a chance to enter again, thinking, well, now we're headed higher. And uh, so nice scalp. That turned out to be a pretty good quick move. Didn't go much higher, and then it turns down. There's a failed second entry long right there, but everything is still right at the EMA. Um, it's kind of flat. You can see all the overlap. I just wasn't crazy about entering right there. If that would have been a good signal bar, maybe yes, but it felt like this was going to be more of a range day at this point. So I just wasn't crazy about going short right there. I didn't think you could go long either. The odds were that we were probably going to work lower, but you need a good setup. You got a second entry right here, but look at the signal bar. But when it ticked higher again right here and then turned down, they got them trapped now. And that's why you just got to sit and be patient sometimes. And sometimes you'll watch these go without you. But by being patient, you get a great setup right here. And then you get a failed second entry long right there. And prices are probably headed to here. And so one more entry. I wouldn't want to enter down here. It's getting too close. But so you got your break and a move to a new low. And then, of course, it bounces. And it's real tempting to go long here. But you got to be careful. Um, there was a failed second entry short right there. And it's still within this uh, within this trend channel. But again, the fact that it couldn't go higher and it backed up and didn't close on its high, I just wasn't real crazy about it. I probably should mark it green because it is a trap, and we're coming off the low of what's looking like a range. So there's reasons to want to take that trade, but generally the bias is down, and so the bias was still somewhat down at this point as well. And I just didn't think it was a good enough setup that I was willing to take it. Looking back at it, it probably should be at least green. But I was looking for another push down. Finally, we got an overshoot here, pull back, attempted a new high, and you get a little double top right there, and it fails. And so I like that one to the short side, thinking that now we're going to get the next leg down. There's a failed second entry long there. And I think this would have maybe worked. I don't even know if that would have worked, but I don't think you take that with those 3 bars stacked up there. Um, it's just another one of those. It's real questionable. If you could get in here with a limit order, maybe. Let me just see if there was. I don't think there's even enough there for it to work. 83 and a quarter would have been your entry, and see, it would have been a 4-tick failure. And you have to avoid those. So I just don't think you want to enter there, period. Even though there is a trap, it's not a very good trap because the bias is still kind of to the downside. So most people aren't going to be looking to go long. They're going to be waiting for a good setup to the short side. And then you actually get one right here, a lower high. So now you notice how the lower, 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 and that's a big reversal bar. So I liked it. And it's like a pull back and test of that little area right there, and then it comes back and tests it again, and it holds. And then this really looks like a range now, so definitely take that one, and then take this one down here too. And you don't know that it's going to keep going, but when you get that failed second entry short there, you figure you're probably headed back up here. Just take that trade too, and you don't know this is going to keep going, but you figure it's going to at least here. But this thing just keeps going, and that was a very nice trade. This one you didn't, right here you didn't get a runner, but this one you did. And you couldn't enter this one really. This one was real tempting, but I don't think you could enter it with prices finding resistance right here. There's just too big a chance that it turns back down here and goes lower. So you just gotta have to skip that one. There's not enough room to get out there. And it would have worked, but you can only see that after the fact. So you got to be real careful when you're, um, when you're, looking at it in real time. You can't. It's not so easy to know what's going to happen. But anyway, prices continued trending higher. This was a really good trade here. There were a couple of, there were several scalps, but this was a good trade with a runner. You could have got a little bit of a runner here, but this was another really good one here. And this one was a really good one if you took it. You didn't get the runner, but well, I take that back. You would have. Even if you wouldn't get a runner out of this. Even if you use the limit order, you still wouldn't get a. lot of times you can use a limit order on these, and you might get a runner. And a lot of times, but you really don't want to risk a limit order a lot of times, because a lot of times these take off and they do not come back. And they're some of the best trades. Here's a good example right here. Look how that one took off. And if you tried to use a limit order, you got left behind. And this is supposed to be blue. So let me change it. But anyway, we're moving up. You get a break and a new high here, but it pulls back first entry, pull back second entry. I'm not crazy about going long above that bar, but when this one closed right here, just drop a limit order back in here, right on top, maybe a tick back, and see if you can get filled. And really, I'm almost okay with you putting a limit order, a stop right here. You're only missing out by 1 tick. You can't hardly chase these trades, because if you do, a lot of times you're going to get burned. But it really looks like at this point we're going to the highs, and and that's what the bias is going to tell you, is that we're going higher. And so I like this trade. I liked letting it break above this, and then maybe putting a limit order right there at the top, maybe 1 tick back in. It's doubtful you would have got filled, tick back in, but you would have got filled right at the high of it, and it didn't matter. It takes off, but you got to be real careful doing that, just for the same reasons I talked about down here. But these failed breaks lower are generally going to be really good setups. I mean, I can show them to you. Here's one. Here's one. Um, Seemed like there were some others today, but you can just watch for these every day, and they're there, and they are generally very good setups. This is basically one right here, based on the closes. You can see the closes are all right across there, and then you get the close outside, and look what it traps everybody, and look what it leads to, a nice move. And so those are really good setups. But anyway, nice setup there. Then it pulls back, first entry, pull back, second entry. You get another test of this same low, a second entry. Um, this time I'd probably just use a stop. It's not a perfect signal bar. It's not a bad one, but it's not a good one either. So if you use the limit order, it's okay. You would have got out a little quicker. Otherwise, you might have had to wait. Once this one didn't take off, I was really leery of this one. So you just kind of got to pass that one up and sit and wait and see what happens. And of course it breaks higher and it looks like it's going to trap everybody, but you don't want to be going short with that support right there. So just wait and see what happens. And when it took off, if you weren't in already, definitely enter here. And if you were already in, you could add on there. That's a type I love to notice. That low, first entry, pull back, second entry. That's a nice failed second entry short, right at strong support. Just put a stop above that. Don't play around with it. Quick, easy move. And then guess what? This is looking like a range. It turns down up there. I didn't like the first entry because it's not a good setup. But on the second entry, and it fails again, just go short right there. And again, don't mess around with it. This is a good setup. We're probably going to the other side. And we may trap everybody at the high. And it turns out to be a good move. And there's that failed break lower. That's a second entry long. It was really tempting to go long there, but because it was such a little small bar and inside, I just wasn't 100%. And there is a little trend line right here, and it's the first break of it, and no retest. So I just was a little bit leery of it. Probably shouldn't have, because just what I talked about a minute ago, all those failed. Okay, I had another interruption there. I can't even remember where we left off. I think we were talking about this trade. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and then you get that little failed second entry, that little failed break lower. I like that one. It's a second entry counting off the low. There's your first move up, pull back, there's your second move. So we call that a second entry as well. And then notice how far we are away from the EMA. Notice where that line is, the perfect measured move. It's basically the highs here. It's a second entry count from here. New low, first entry, pull back, second entry. But I like that little jog up. I would have liked this even better if it broke lower and went up and then turned down. But anyway, nice setup right here. Nice bearish bar. Okay, hundreds of interruptions today. Every time I set the phone down, it rings again, and I've got some stuff going on, so I can't miss the call. But we pretty much got through it. Again, this is just a double top on the bigger picture. You had your break here, moved to a new high. You're way away from the EMA. Odds are you're coming back to it, and there's plenty of room in there. So I like that setup. Big picture again, it's just a trading range day. And this is a good example. I'm always talking about there's trends within trends, there's ranges within ranges, there's ranges within trends, there's trends within ranges. And this is a big picture. This is just a range. And notice there's trends within this range. There's smaller ranges within this range. And in the big picture, we trended down, and this is a range with it. And we could go lower again, and so it could end up being a range within a much bigger trend on like a daily or whatever, or maybe a weekly. So just remember that, and you have to switch gears. Once you realize you're ranging here, forget about the trend and go with the range. It was pretty evident when we bounced again here, and then it was pretty evident when we turned down there. So same thing here. It wasn't as evident on this first trade, but this was a good short without the range. Okay, I know you guys can't tell it, but I've been away again. Somebody was in my office, but just a crazy day around here for me. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Good trading day. like I said, you've got your ranges and your trends all within each other. So uh, that's, once if you're range, you're in a little trading range here, you got to have range rules. But once you start trending, you switch, and then all of a sudden you got to switch back to range rules, and then it's trending again, and you're in trend rules, and then it's still trending here. It looks like it was going to range again, and it goes ahead and makes this new high, but that's still part of this trend. That's your break and your move to a new high. And you'll see that over and over. So these days can be very difficult for people that have a hard time switching gears. And that's what they do. They trip you up and they fake you and all that good stuff. But if you understand what we're doing and how to look at things properly, it makes it much easier. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for the day. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.